Malaysia Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad submits his resignation to the King. The short move follows 24 hours of political drama which saw an attempt by Mahathir's allies to bring down the government and block the succession of leader-in-waiting Anwar Ibrahim. Anwar and Mahathir have a notoriously stormy relationship, but they reconciled ahead of the 2018 polls, and Mahathir repeatedly promised to hand over power to his former foe. The popularity of Mahathir and Anwar's alliance plummeted over the years after failing to raise living standards and keep its promise to the ethnic Muslim majority. It also lost a string of local polls. Reports say the proposed new government aimed at blocking Anwar with help included Mahathir's party and two other groups. Some activists and academics protest, saying in a statement that people will not agree to or cooperate with any backdoor government. Some call for a snap poll, although politicians appear to be trying to form a new government without holding an election. For many countries around the world, political instability has become a concern today despite the state of development or their political regime. Based on previous experience, political conflicts can have a horrible impact on the economy. The political crisis does affect Malaysia's economy on international capital flow, import-export between countries, and currency depreciation. The details on this will be discussed further in this video.
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ain Farah Adila binti Yaacob. Okay, I will explain on the impact of Malaysia's political crisis towards its international capital flows. Okay, but before that, what is international capital flows? Alright, so basically international capital flows are the movements of the money for the purpose of investment, trade, and business productions. Okay, so international capital flows comprise of foreign direct investments (FDI), portfolio investments (PI), and other kinds of investments. But in this video, I will only focus on two things: FDI and PI. Okay, there are three factors that can affect international capital flows, which are politics, social, and economy. According to Roy and Siegels, okay, in unstable politics or environment, investors' basic right cannot be secure because they cannot guarantee what the politics will look like over the life of their investments. Okay, basically they cannot guarantee or cannot be sure, they are uncertain whether their investments will be profitable or worthy in this uncertain politics and environment. Okay, in terms of FDI, in 2019, after the winning of new government, Pakatan Harapan, which led by Tun Dr. Mahathir, okay, after their winning in 40th general elections, Malaysia has achieved the highest realized FDI in its history. Okay, Malaysia has achieved 21.7 billion in realized FDI in the first quarter of 2019 and received 62.5 billion ringgit Malaysia in the second quarter, the highest in its history. Okay, the finance minister during that time said that the improvement of this FDI is basically due to the rising confidence of foreign investors towards Malaysia. However, after the collapse of Pakatan Harapan in the early of 2020, okay, FDI has dramatically dropped to only just 6.37 billion in March quarter 2020, which also may be resulted from a COVID-19 outbreak. Okay, in terms of PI, in 2019, Malaysia has also achieved their highest PI since 2013 with 8.8 billion ringgit Malaysia. Okay, so according to UOB Global Economics and Market Research, okay, he said that in 2019, Malaysia received higher demands of government bonds. Okay, foreign shareholdings of national government bonds rebounded close to the pre-general elections, okay, of 24.3% as at end December of 2019. However, after the collapse of Pakatan Harapan, Malaysia's PI fell by 6.273 billion USD dollar, compared with an increase of 2.646 USD billions in the previous quarter. Plus, the uncertainty of political crisis in Malaysia has made the investors, foreign and domestic, to withdraw their investments, okay, their money from the capital markets, okay, about 43 billion in 24 February 2020. Okay, I will pass the floor to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nabilah Anisah binti Suhaimi. For today's presentation, I will be talking about the effect of political crisis to international trade of a country. Okay, international trade. What is international trade? International trade is basically the exchange of goods or services between countries which involve import and export. So international trade benefited countries in many ways. For example, it gives the opportunity for the producer to market their products in the international market. For consumer, they have a wider range of choices when it comes to product and services that they can choose from. Even though international trade lays down many advantages to the country, but when the country is hit with the political crisis or political uncertainty, it will hinder the benefit of international trade. Political uncertainty or political crisis that can affect the international trade usually linked to the uncertainty with the government's direction or changes from one political party to another political party to become the ruling government. For example, in 2014, when Thailand was changing their government, it has caused some delay in appointing the new government. So it leads to people don't know about their political direction of the country. So it has affected both the domestic and international business, and also has made the public confidence to go down. So when the government changes, the law and the regulation can also change according to what the new government wants to achieve. For example, they can impose new taxes, increase or reduce the taxes, they can impose trade tariff or even the trade barriers. So when the laws and the regulations are changed, so it somehow can affect the international trade between the countries. So in the context of Malaysian political crisis 2020, there is no significant effect on international trade because basically there is no new laws or regulation, or even there is no changes in the existing law or regulation has been introduced. But it did affect in terms of the spending on import and export, because when this crisis happened, ringgit Malaysia weakens against US. So up until to this date, even when the new government has been appointed, there is still no changes or there is still no new laws and regulation with regard to the international trade. But the government has been putting a lot of attention on the economic stimulus package to boost the consumer spending to get the country back on the track.
The next impact of political crisis to its Malaysian economy is causing Malaysian ringgit to depreciate. The announcement of resignation by Mahathir Mohamad caused the currency of Malaysian ringgit to depreciate to the weakest. The ringgit was traded at RM 4.2335 versus the US dollar, the weakest in more than 2 years since October 2017. The ringgit fell has crossed the 4.2 mark against the US dollar, as the US dollar ringgit exchange rate weakened by 0.84% to RM 4.2265 for every dollar. This is a graph where Malaysian ringgit dropped to the levels earlier this year. COVID-19, the disease associated with a novel coronavirus infection, has been declared a pandemic, and our country is included. The political crisis comes when the country is still struggling under COVID-19's effect. Our country has only recently cut the growth outlook from 4.5% to 3.5%, making it the worst growth year since the global financial crisis of 2009. The political stability is vital in ensuring investor confidence in our economy. When the political crisis occurred, investors have lost confidence to invest in the Malaysian market. Hence, investors will prefer not to invest in an unstable environment and risk their capital. In brief, fear or uncertainty about a country's political stability can cause the depreciation of currencies. That's all from me. Thank you.
Now moving on to the recommendations or solutions for the government to tackle this issue. Okay, the current political crisis can push Malaysia further into a slowdown, but only if instability is prolonged. Okay, Thus, the impact of nation's political crisis towards its economy can be reduced, mainly through political stability. When and how the political crisis can be resolved, okay, will be the key for to Malaysia's ability to navigate the domestic and external economic weaknesses. Malaysia needs a new government, even though there will be initial shock before rebound, okay, and then a detailed government policy should be implemented or planned accordingly to revive our economy, such as fiscal policy and monetary policy. For example, the current Prime Minister, Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, has announced economic stimulus package amounted to 20 billion ringgit Malaysia to help to boost our economy. So this package will help to bring back the confidence of investors, both domestic and foreign investors, due to the stability of politics of the Malaysia's government. In terms of monetary policy, Bank Negara or central bank should play their role as well, okay, by providing or implementing a moratorium, for example. For instance, now BNM has cut overnight policy rates (OPR) and reduced the statutory reserve requirements (SRR) to reduce the loan cost, improve liquidity, and stimulates our economy. Besides, the restructuring and rescheduling of the 6-month moratorium will ensure that capital and financial markets will return to its stability. The government's fiscal and monetary policy will implement or complement each other and one another to help to revive our economy by increasing aggregate demands such as public and private investment for both domestic and eventually foreign investors.
As a conclusion, political crises that hit the country not only will lead to social conflict and loss of public confidence towards the government, but also it can affect the economic development. In this assignment, we managed to highlight on 3 economic effects that can happen whenever there is political crisis. The first one is the effect on the currency valuation. Secondly is the effect on the international capital flow of funds. And lastly is the effect on the international trade. With regard to the Malaysia's political crisis that happened earlier this year, we can see that there is significant economic effect on the currency valuation and the international capital flow of fund, but not much in terms of international trade of Malaysia. However, if this crisis is not handled well, there is possibilities that these 3 effects can be worsened in the long run and may even invite other economic effects. Lastly, as a Malaysian, we should be grateful that even though the country was hit by political crisis earlier this year, but we do not really feel the hit from this crisis, unlike other countries that was hit by the same crisis. For example, in Turkey, it has affect the economy and also affect the society as a whole. So this is the end of our presentation. We hope that you enjoyed this video and the presentation. Thank you.